Welcome to Built to Work, the podcast that gets its hands dirty, dives into the grit, and uncovers the heart of what makes the blue-collar world tick. I'm Colin, your host, and I'm sitting down with the people who keep our world running. From those tackling the tough jobs no one else dares to do, to the HR professionals working overtime to find the labor force we desperately need. Whether you're in the trenches or behind the scenes, this podcast is for anyone who values hard work, determination, and stories that build the backbone of our workforce. So grab your gloves, your coffee, or your clipboard. It's time to get to work. Welcome to Built to Work. I'm Colin Douthit. Today I am here with Mark Kappelman. Mark, thank you so much for joining me.
Pleasure to be here, Colin.
So, Mark, this isn't just a random interview. Our history goes back, I'd say at least 4 years now, probably.
Yep.
So for those of you that don't know Mark, first off, he is a rock star in the world of real estate accounting. So much so that him and his partner named his company that. It is Real Estate Accounting. So that's how we got to know him, based upon our previous experience owning a property management company. So, Mark, great to catch up with you. It's been a couple years ever since we sold off. Tell us what's been changing in your world, what's going on, where are you guys at with your process and your growth?
Yeah, sure. When we met you guys, and it does seem like 4 or 5 years ago now, which is pretty wild. We were a whole lot smaller back then, a lot scrappier. My business partner and I founded the company back in 2019. In the early days, it was just us. He was doing sales, I was doing accounting. Fast forward to today, we've got about 165 people now, probably just as many clients. I don't know exact count. Still 100% focused on real estate bookkeeping. That's our niche. Like you said, the website, RealEstateAccounting.co, we actually bought the URL REA.co to try to simplify things a couple of years ago. Business is growing. There's a ton of demand. I think, ultimately, we got into this business at a pretty good time, which was 2019, and kind of right when COVID hit. And I think there was this realization of people that you didn't necessarily need accountants in your office, sitting right next to you in your local market. People fired a bunch of people, kind of knee-jerk reaction when the economy contracted. But then they quickly realized, and in property management, they still had to get the owner distributions out. They still got to get the 1099s done. There's just a bunch of stuff in accounting that still has to get done whether you fire the people or not. And so quickly, we just started getting phone calls. And I think maybe it's unfortunate circumstances that's how some of the industry growth has been. But, it did really get us going.
Yeah, no, that's great. That's great. So we came to know you because starting our property management company, that was our first real big entrepreneurial venture. I'd been buying real estate and then started managing it. And I was surviving doing the books on my own. But then somewhere along the way, I realized we have way outpaced, what our internal team was able to do. And we need somebody that was professionals. And, your experience and an experience with another vendor has really made me a big proponent of outsourcing your non-core competencies, right? So property management. So for me, similar to you guys, I was really good at selling. I scaled a company really quickly. My partner's really good at operations. So I would bring him in and say, hey, here's the deal. Go ahead and operate it. But neither one of us were accountants by trade. And we started looking, and all of a sudden, we are in a bad spot. Our books are a wreck. We are not capturing every expense to pass through to the owners. So this was it was a huge learning experience for us. Took a ton away from it. And Mark, your team was instrumental in, and I'm going to say, saving our company and getting us financially right to where we could operate, we could be profitable, and then we could have a successful exit down the road. So I don't know that I've ever said that to you. So thank you so much for your team for coming in. And I know we gave you guys a rat's nest of work to work through.
Yeah, it's funny. You have mentioned something like that before, I think, when you guys were selling the business and we were parting ways, and it meant a lot for you to say that. I do specifically remember when we brought you guys on as a client, you guys were super stressed. You and Adam were doing all the work. And it was that was just a perfect example of, like you say, of, hey, this is a non-core thing for us, your property management company, to, hey, Mark, me being, hey guys, this is all we do is property management accounting. Let us help you out. And it worked really well. And I'm grateful for that.
Yeah, absolutely. The favorite thing that I learned from that, or that I enjoyed about the relationship, was just saying, hey, you guys have the scale to handle this. And it doesn't stress you guys or burden you guys to handle the scale of what we had, right? We had, a dozen people in the office, and none of us were accountants by trade. None of us were bookkeepers. We were just trying to figure it out as we went. And then we actually tried outsourcing to another guy who said, "Oh, I know what I'm doing." And we said, "Okay, well, we'll give you a shot," before we'd crossed paths with you guys. And he totally fell on his face after like 30, 45 days. And we were like, this is not the guy. We 100% knew it then. And then we talked to you guys, and it was a whole other world. So you do it every day. It's what you're best at. And so you got to focus on that. So I want to take a step back kind of before you got started. And what were you doing before you guys started REA?
Yeah. It's a great question, and I think I'm gonna tell the story as to why we started it, because it's similar but different story to you. So I'm a CPA. So early in my career, I was at Ernst & Young, and then I was at PwC. It feels like many moons ago now. But immediately prior to REA, I was working at a tech company. But the second story there is, back in 2013, my wife and I got the crazy idea to start flipping houses. There was all these flipping house shows on TV. She's actually an accountant too. So we got these two accountants. We just wanted to do something entrepreneurial. And we're like, you know what? Let's flip a house. We can do this. And in 2013, we bought this little single family home, fixed it up, flipped it, and literally got a check for more money than either of us had ever seen. And we were like, oh my gosh, we did it. And so this is important to the story. So we kind of got into real estate. So it's a couple accountants that have just now stumbled themselves into real estate. We proceeded to, okay, we can do this, bought another property, then bought another one. And we were trying to scale, if you will. We had like 3 projects going. Meanwhile, we're both working W-2. So we're kind of doing this nights and weekends. And I was reading all these entrepreneurial books. One of which was, I'm blanking on the book right now. The E-Myth. And basically it just talks about, like, just like you're saying, outsource all the admin and focus on sales and driving growth, what you're good at, the high value stuff. So even though we were accountants, the actual accounting on our properties was getting behind, believe it or not, because we were getting paid W-2 jobs, and the fun stuff was finding a new deal and putting the money together. And anyways, our accounting got behind, and we outsourced our own accounting on our real estate. And it came back absolutely terrible. We sent the guys a closing statement. They said, what is this? They were asking, they had no clue. And we quickly realized, hey, look, there's a need for specialized real estate accountants. This stuff's complicated. This stuff's unique. All the softwares are different. Everything's different. And even though I was a CPA at these big 4 accounting firms, it was still even complicated for me. And so then we kind of realized, hey, look, there's a need for specialized accountants. We kind of looked around, couldn't really find that anybody was doing it, at least with a big presence online. And that was really the genesis for starting REA, is that we were accountants, then we kind of became real estate people, and then identified this need that, oh, hey, by the way, our 2 skill sets here, real estate and accounting, is really a big industry need. Or so we thought it was. That was the thesis. And I think we were right. But
absolutely.
That was how we got started.
Yeah. Oh, that's a great story. It's
thank you.
I think one of those entrepreneurial books, maybe even E-Myth, talks about having an entrepreneurial seizure where you start something, but sometimes there's a swing and a miss, and you guys clearly hit it out of the park with that one.
Well, yeah. What's the other one? They just say, like, sometimes you don't have to get it right with exactly how you're doing the business, but you got to get in the right stream. And I feel like, hopefully we got in the right stream, because the industry has just kind of shifted real estate accounting specifically to this outsourcing model. But I think, to your point, it applies in all sorts of industries outside of just accounting.
No, it absolutely does. For those of you that don't know real estate and property management, there's a lot of proprietary software out there for managing your properties, and it's got its own specialized accounting, and they're all different. It's not like you're just jumping on QuickBooks Online or QuickBooks Desktop or one of those kind of big ones. These are nuanced, not nearly as many accountants are familiar with it, so nobody can just jump in and clean up your books, right? You can pay a bookkeeper to clean up your QuickBooks, and they'll do a pretty good job. But the nuance of those property management softwares is something that also really trips people up.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a huge part of the industry.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that was, we switched property management softwares, and the accounting functionality was a large reason of the reason we switched. So,
Yeah.
um, so what have you guys seen that has helped to, make your customers successful? Obviously, you guys provide a great service, but on whole, what do you see that makes your customers successful in real estate or in property management?
You know, I think, we have two kind of different customer types. You guys were third party, your prior company was a third party management company. You guys
Mhm.
make management fees, managing other people's properties.
Yeah.
For those clients, it's literally just distributions on time every single month, statements on time every time to the owners, and clean statements that people can understand that reduces the number of questions. And
Yeah.
so it really just kind of comes down to consistency. That's probably the name of the game. A lot has to go into getting the distribution right, but it's just
Yeah.
like our clients, our third-party clients that run the most efficiently, have a great system. They distribute on the same time every single month, and they really they're close to their numbers,
Mhm.
right? So these owners, they don't exactly know what we're doing in our job of every button we're pushing, but they do log into their system. They know their numbers, and they're close to their business. So I think, just that consistency I've seen really kind of brings out the best successful of our third-party management clients. And then
Okay.
the other clients that we have are the people that both own and manage the real estate. So for those individuals, it's about producing great financials that they can give to their investors and their lenders, that they aren't getting tons of questions about, that they know they can rely on, which at the end of the day results in on-time K1s at the end of the year. And so I think,
Yeah.
as I even explain this and as I explain it to the team all the time, I always basically tell them that our customer isn't just the customer that's paying our bill. Our customer is actually like their customers. And
Mhm.
so all the owners of the third party management clients, if those people are happy, then our client's never going to question what we're doing,
Yeah.
because his or her business is going to be humming along. You know how it is. If no owners would have ever been asking you questions, books are clean, distributions, you have no reason to ever even question your accountant, because you're like, oh, my accountants are doing great.
Yeah.
Owners are happy. Money's getting processed. And I think, we kind of think about it the same way, which is remember that there's kind of downstream customers that we need to be thinking about. And if those people are happy, we just know that the accounting, or our clients, can be happy with the accounting.
Yeah. Absolutely. So talking about that relationship with your clients, the third party managers that have been outsourced to you, how do you approach those relationships, and what's been really successful at maintaining those long-term partnerships?
It's a people business. It is absolutely a people business. And so, some of our longest term clients, they just absolutely love the people on our team that are working on those accounts. And I think, I mean, I can't speak to each one specifically right now. I can tell you that I'm guessing all of their end clients are happy and they're not getting tons of questions on their accounting, right? But ultimately, we've got clients that when something comes up, they can text our team member or call them, or they just know they're going to get a response. Yeah, I mean, I really think it's relationship driven. And when we're doing our job, like I said before, and the end clients are happy, that is how we create long-term success. And, sometimes, like your business, and this happens to us once in a while, which is we could do everything right, or at least 90%, let's say. We're not perfect,
Yeah.
but we can do everything right, and the client decides to sell their business.
Mm-hmm.
Or the client goes out of business because they weren't running a profitable business, and then we lose the client. We couldn't do anything about that.
Yeah, can't prevent that.
So, I think those things are going to happen, but, you agree to a scope of work, you execute on that scope of work, you do it consistently, on time, you communicate, good things generally happen.
Yeah, absolutely. I know that we were a mess when we brought REA on board, and they were excellent at helping us get everything corrected. I would love to hear a good, war story or mess story, and maybe that's us. I don't know if there's anybody that was worse than us. I would like to think we weren't the worst, but I would love a good war story from you, or a real success story.
Gosh, let's see. I mean, the funny thing is about this business is that you almost never hire an accountant when things are clean. So,
Okay.
That's what I have to educate my team all the time when they're talking about, oh my gosh, like this new client that we take on is so messy. It's like, that's why they're calling us.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that is exactly why they're calling us. I mean, look, I can't use names, but we're working with a client right now that was working with a competitor. It wasn't going well. They're using 2 different property management softwares. We had to go back years to fix all these past bank recs and all these owner statement issues. And we've literally caught it all up, and we're in a good spot. You guys were obviously, that was messy. And you had lots of money that you were owed. And then there was money that you owed your owners. And, we had to true all this stuff up. And that's just, I hate to say it, but it's kind of par for the course for us. Because, again, it is like, if somebody comes to us, it's like once in a while somebody will come to us and go, my accountant quit, and my books are in great shape, but I just need somebody to take over for them. They gave me 2 weeks. Can you help me out? Sure. I wish they were all like that, but the reality is they're all kind of quite the opposite of that. So I don't have some like super detailed story, but they're just they've all got problems. And a lot of times people are switching softwares, which is, a pain in the butt, and everybody knows that when you change a software.
Yeah, that's the biggest challenge. I remember doing that, and that wasn't fun at all.
Yeah.
Just trying to the import files, and nobody wants to help you, and it's not good. We experience some of the same things when people reach out to us, right? Hey, I'm having a lot of turnover in these positions. We can't keep our operation fully staffed. It's hurting our productivity. We're having a lot of overtime. Fill in the blank. Our employees are burned out, and they'll call us, and we'll bring in our crew, and we will place them, and then they will start operating. They'll learn. They'll get acclimated to wherever they're working, and they start to work like that, and then we just become integral to their operations in the same way that you guys were integral to ours. And really it makes it works really well for the customer. We're to the point with a couple customers where they're like, we can't do this without you guys. Right.
Yeah.
And that's the best thing you can hear is, as I know that we've said that to you guys, and you've probably heard that from other people as well. It's like, hey, this is exactly the way to do it. So.
Yeah. And you're right. Like, you become indispensable to one another. It's a really strong position to be in. You create that trust. I mean, kind of just like, similar to your business, there are certain people out there that maybe want to do everything themselves, but you get to a point in the business where if you're really trying to scale it, you cannot be the accountant and the sales guy, or you also can't be the scrap metal guy or girl and doing all that work and torching and all the different things that you do, plus going out and closing more business. And there's just so many hours in the day, and you're only good at so many things. We kind of talked about that before, which is, stay in your lane, do what you're really good at. You'll enjoy yourself even more, and hire people into these things that they're really good at in their kind of zone of expertise.
Yeah, no, that's true. And we got to the point where we had multiple different portions of our business that we outsourced. So we outsourced accounting to you guys, and then we outsourced recruiting to another firm, and we outsourced all of our HR and our payroll to a local PEO here in Kansas City. And I'll tell you what, having those teams that had scale And again, it was their core competency and not ours. It just made all those systems flow. Everything just went off without a hitch. So I can really say that we've experienced the benefits of it. And that's one of the reasons that I'm so passionate about it. And frankly, when we were in property management as well, they were outsourcing the management of the properties because nobody wants to do that, right? You wanted to flip houses. You didn't want to do the house accounting.
I originally, but
Yeah.
flipping houses is really hard to scale too.
Yes, it is.
And you need businesses that are repeatable and scalable.
Yes.
I would say as
Yeah.
well.
So looking back on your entrepreneurial journey, right? It's 2025 now. You started in 2019, so you're 5.5 years into this. Is there anything you wish you would have done differently along the way?
I mean, yeah, countless things. But at the same time, there isn't some, I think for anybody else that's kind of like thinking about getting into a business or something like that, what I've told a lot of people a lot of times is I think it's less risky than than it is. Particularly if you're starting a business that isn't super asset heavy. So, when we started this company, I just remember telling my wife saying, hey, look, if this falls through, the great news is I worked in public accounting for 7 years, and these accounting firms have been around for 150 years or whatever they've been around. I don't think they're going anywhere. And I can promise you that I could go back and get a job. And if this one turns me down, I'll just go to the next one. And if they don't, then the next one. So I think, that's kind of, I know that wasn't exactly your question, but just like, I remember when we started, I really firmly believe in that today. Now, if you have to take on a bunch of debt and buy a bunch of assets to start the business, there's a little more risk. But for when you're providing a service like we were, it was an internet connection, and that's about it in our time. But I think of what I do differently, again, what I love about the business is that as you grow and as it goes over time, you can start to hire really, really good people. And in the early days, you have no budget for anybody, so you got to drive revenue. But now we're at the point where, I'm sometimes shocked at the quality of people that are on our team now and how lucky we are to have some of these people, heading up. We've gotten to the point where now we've got a residential team and a commercial team, and we've got VPs over these businesses. And these are fantastic, high IQ accountants that are leading this. And so, I think it's invest in good people as soon as you possibly can. It took a long time to get here, I guess. But, the other thing I would just say is a lot of people ask about what you can do differently. And I think it's just, if you're going to do something with a partner, just really segregating the tasks. Early on, my co-founder and I was telling you before, we kept it really simple. And he was pre-sale and I was post-sale. Mm-hmm. Pre-sale, post-sale. You close the deals, I'll do the accounting. And it was just, we didn't step on each other's toes at all, right? There was obviously communication, but he'd land a sales lead, I'd do the work. And we both knew exactly what we were doing. I would know what the pipeline is. And of course, those roles have morphed over time. But, just having a really solid business partnership, if you're going to do it with somebody, my co-founder and I rarely disagree. Of course, we do a little bit, but it's just, it's always respectful and trying to find good solutions.
Yes. Well, some people say that the only ship that doesn't sail is a partnership. And we both have partners, and I think that we've both been lucky to have good business partners. I've had some forays into some other areas with some other partners, and those definitely went south. So I took a risk again here, and we both did, and I'm really happy with the way it turned out. So the partner selection is a big part of making sure you have a successful business.
Oh, it's critical. I probably take it for granted all the time. My co-founder actually is a friend of mine from grade school. I didn't even tell that part of the story, but we knew each other a long time ago.
Okay.
And so, and we went to college together. So we just had a lot of history. So it was just we knew exactly what we're getting into. Mm-hmm. And I can remember the flip side of doing a real estate deal and partnering with somebody that I didn't really know on a JV. And it went really not well. And he thought very different about money than I did. Right. And I didn't realize what his core values were versus my co-founder, Adam. I know everything about him like a brother. And so probably similar to you guys, there's a lot of value to that.
Yeah, absolutely. Adam and I now are going on knowing each other for 20 years. So
Oh,
we
wow.
started in
Okay.
college together. We went to college together. We played football together. So we kind of similar to you guys. We grew up together,
Yeah.
and so yeah, that history. I know everything about him. We know how to push each other's buttons, uh, and but also have a really good time. But we also are very aware of this is your strength. This is my strength. Let's let them complement each other instead of fighting each other.
Yeah. And that's huge. That's huge.
Yeah. So business growth is something I'm also passionate about. I've enjoyed building the first business. I'm enjoying this business that we're in right now, hoping to continue to grow it, build it. Who knows what the future holds? Um, are you going to look to continue to grow REA? What's your long-term goal for REA?
We just continue to grow. And I think, we didn't even talk about this with the business, but what we found is you get better as you grow, at least in the case of our business, because as we grow, like I was saying before, we can hire higher quality people. Now, yes, you need to ensure the quality, and those are different types of challenges, but it's just like our bookkeeping service product is getting better because of our years of experience, getting better, seeing problems, etc. Really kind of so we're going to continue to grow that. We feel like we're in the early stages of that still, even though we're 5.5 years in. In terms of services, though, the really big thing for us is tax. And so, that part of the business. So when I was talking about before about the two different client types we've got third-party management clients and we've got clients that both own and manage. The own and manage people have a lot of tax needs because they've got partnership returns to do. In real estate, you have cost segregations, you have investors that you need to get K-1s to. And so there's a lot of tax needs within, because every deal is usually a different LLC and it needs a tax return. So, we really want to launch a tax business because we think it'd be very complementary. Similar to you guys, we're actually debating acquiring, a tax business versus starting from scratch. We've been trying to, but again, it's almost like finding another business partner because launching a new line of business is a little different than just adding on. And I always use the example, I know that you have kids. I think launching a second product is kind of like having a second kid, which is, you know how much work it's going to be, but you've done it before. So it's not as scary. It's like, look, I know what it is, but I know that we can do it. And we've already got the one kid and, and so that's how I've always thought about tax, of growing it organically. But at the same time, I think that if we could acquire a tax business, and there's a lot of tax CPAs that don't have a smooth running operation or might have a big book of clients, but they're just looking to exit. Maybe they're looking to retire. And so that's kind of our thinking as of late with tax. But in terms of growth, not competitive with our bookkeeping business. It's very complementary to our client set. And I know, again, it would add value. They all need this done. So it's not really, it's not even us selling them something. It's just, we know that you're already doing taxes. Chances are we can do it better than whoever's doing it today. And if we can't, that's fine. Just stick with what you got, and that's great. But we do know that there's, just like you guys were looking for a bookkeeping solution and couldn't necessarily find it and found us. I just know that there's a lot of people in the same spot with taxes that have not a great service provider. They don't respond on time. They probably don't have a real business, and they're probably one man or woman shop just trying to crank out a bunch of tax returns versus kind of a structure that could scale with somebody.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, as a real estate investor, and I've divested of everything at this point, though, thank goodness. But definitely having that help on the tax front, having somebody that you could rely on to handle it now. With our current company, we have outsourced all of our accounting. It's not real estate, otherwise we would have called you guys again happily.
Yeah, appreciate that.
But it's a firm, then they've got a division called Entrepreneurial Services, right? And they service businesses, they handle everything. They're on top of 1099s, they're on top of taxes, they're on top of quarterly payments, whatever we need to do, they are right there. They're great with invoicing. And they have a team, right? So as we grow, we can grow with them, and we don't have to worry about outpacing them, right? You got the one person mom and pop shop, you may blow past them, and then you're having to look again. As opposed to with this company or with you guys, it's like, hey, we can take care of all your needs.
Yeah. Do they do your
Right.
taxes also?
Yeah, they also handle our taxes. So it's a
Yeah.
full service accounting firm. They're pretty big here in just the Kansas City metro area. And yeah, so funny enough, my mother-in-law actually used to work there and was like a junior partner.
Oh, really?
And yeah, then we brought in a fractional CFO for our company. Again, going the outsourced route because we
Yeah.
don't need a full CFO, but we need somebody for a couple hours a week, and we need his
Yep.
guidance and his introductions. And he said, "Hey, let's interview this firm. This is a firm I think could really handle you with this service. They've got taxes in house." And I was like, "Well, funny enough, I'm familiar with the firm." And my mother-in-law just retired a year before, so there wasn't really a conflict. And not that there would have been a conflict; she would have been happy to help us out. But yeah, they offer quite a few services.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I think you kind of touched on that before you hired us. You said you outsourced to some guy or gal
Yeah,
that claimed they could do the work, but the reality is you guys were a pretty big property management company and you had ambitions to grow. I can't remember. I think it was, we're going to grow 10x, or you were growing fast,
yeah, we were.
and you just one man band, unless you have no other clients, it's just really hard to scale with that. So I think when you are deciding to outsource, just make sure you're going to somebody that has kind of a team. I think when clients ask me if I'm going to be the one doing all the work, I think they're happy when I say, no, absolutely not. We have 165 people that work here,
Mhm.
and you're going to get put into this team. And as you grow, we'll add more people to your account. We're growing just as fast as you guys. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I think that is a really important part of outsourcing in general, just making sure you're working with a group that actually has infrastructure.
Yeah, no, that's huge, and being able to scale, and that's why we got PEO partner with HR, payroll. We can scale with them. We've got accounting, we can scale with them, wherever else we need to bolt something on that we can scale with. So it's great.
Mhm.
But well, Mark, I just want to say it was great catching up with you again. It's been a year and a half since we've talked probably. I really appreciate your time today. I appreciate your guys' work. You guys are definitely the best shop when it comes to real estate accounting. You guys do a great job. And if I ever got back into the property management game, which I'm not saying no, but I'm not saying yes,
Yeah.
I would just start with you guys from day one. I wouldn't even mess with it. Then there's nothing to unscrew.
Well, we appreciate that, and we loved working with you guys, and appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mark.